Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Unsolved episode. Today we have 5 Unsolved Mysteries Part 1. We will go in depth of these mysteries and what is going on with these cases now. They are in no specific order. Now let's dive deep into them and see what the mystery is all about. At number 5. Ricky McCormick. Ricky was a high school dropout that couldn't even write his own name. He had multiple addresses in Missouri and Illinois region, but he mostly lived with his elderly mother. Ricky suffered from chronic heart and lung problems. He was never married, but he did father 4 children. However, he did have a criminal record for statutory rape, which he served the 11-month term of a 3-year sentence. On June 30th, 1999, near West Alton, Missouri cornfield, Ricky McCormick's body was found by a woman driving alongside a road field off Route 367. Right after finding his body, many mysteries started to pop up. One of them being, why is his body so badly decomposed already if he had only been missing for 72 hours? They had to use fingerprints to get his identity of how bad he was decomposed. Another mystery being why he was found 15 miles away from his current address, as he didn't have a car and the road he was in did not have a public transportation route. There was no indication that anyone wanted to harm Ricky, so the police ruled this as a homicide and there was never a cause of death. McCormick was last seen alive 5 days earlier on June 25, 1990, getting a checkup at St. Louis Forest Park Hospital. Stories in 1999 did not mention anything about the paper found in his pocket that had a cipher message in it. It wasn't announced 12 years earlier until the FBI announced his killing was actually a murder, and they posted it in their homepage on the FBI website, asking the public for help as they realized the note was written between those 3 days he was missing. The 2 notes are written in an unknown code consisting of a jumble of letters and numbers, occasionally set off with parentheses, and are believed by the FBI to possibly lead those responsible for the killing. Dan Olson, chief of the FBI's Crypto Analysis and Racketeering Record Unit, said, illustrating the significance of this note, breaking the code could reveal the victim's whereabouts before his death and could lead to the solution of his homicide. Attempts by both the FBI Crypto Analysis and Racketeering Record Unit and the American Cryptogram Association failed to decipher their meanings, and Ricky McCormick's encrypted notes are currently listed as one of the CRRU's top unsolved cases, with McCormick's killer yet to be identified. According to a member of McCormick's family, Ricky hadn't used encrypted notes since he was a boy, but apparently no one in his family knows how to decipher the codes. Either the FBI knew what it said. Since this, the FBI has asked for the public's help, and as of now, the case is still open. Number 4. Garnell Moore. Garnell was a 6-year-old boy that never attended school and had no dental or medical records. His mother was in prison and his father was a transient. He was missing 3 years before anyone even noticed he was gone, and there's only one picture of him, but it was when he was 4. Garnell was born in Baltimore, Maryland on May 18, 1995. He spent most of his time living with his parental relatives in the west side of Baltimore, one of the most dangerous and poorest areas of Baltimore. At age 6, Garnell found himself living in his aunt's home, Belinda Cash. She rented the house that they lived at. She never made any effort to become a legal guardian of Garnell, and never registered him in school or took him to see a doctor or the dentist, showing he was not very well taken care of. At age 7, Garnell vanished, with no one even noticing. Trina Morton, who was Garnell's great aunt, was the last one to see Garnell playing outside Belinda's house on August 2002. Trina called Belinda multiple times to have Garnell over for a weekend visit, but she always denied. The first time Belinda claimed she was going into labor and had no time, and the second time she was moving home, so it was pretty busy for her at the time as well. 3 years had passed and no one had heard or seen Garnell, who should have been 10 at the time. Belinda also avoided the whole family by giving false addresses, and she disconnected her phone. No one realized he was gone until June 2005 when they ran into Belinda and asked her where Garnell was. She answered saying he was at school for a field trip in Virginia, but there was no school at that time. Trina Morton made multiple calls to all the schools in the area, but they were unable to give her any information due to the privacy law, and she wasn't the legal guardian. Her biggest fear was that he was living with strangers, so she called social services, but they told her they couldn't do anything as he wasn't deemed a child of assistance. With no choice left, Trina went to the police, who did an investigation and found no trace Garnell even being in school. So the main suspect was Belinda, Garnell's aunt. She claimed she wasn't suited to take care of him at the time, so he left them at the steps of a social service building in the 500 block of North Hilton Street, near Edmond Avenue in West Baltimore. Police didn't believe her, so they got a warrant to search her home where she lived at. There was no sign that he ever lived there. A background check showed she had a criminal record, but no sign of child abuse. They tracked down Garnell's father, who claimed he had not seen him since 2002 or 2003, playing outside Belinda's house. The police department's missing person unit got heavily involved. They went to go look at the old house that Belinda lived at with Garnell, but all they found was boxes in every room, and all the walls were falling down from mold, and it was just an unsafe place to be at. They later returned with the homeowner and the boxes were moved. The police brought in canines and they searched every single section of the home in search of Garnell, but it came out clear. Police later gave Belinda a lie detector test, which she passed. She did fail at one question, but it wasn't related to the case. After many more interviews, Belinda stuck to her story where she left Garnell, and that is how far the police took it. They handed the case over to social services and the juvenile court, where till this day it remains unsolved. Maybe Garnell was left at the social service building, and he was picked up by a stranger that took him in and hasn't claimed him for adoption. Number 3. Samuel Arthur Todd. Known to many as Sam Todd, is a story that still leaves many people with many questions till this day. Sam was in New York City, Chinatown, visiting his brother Adam and 2 of his friends. On January 1st, 1984, New Year's Day, they all went to the local party in Manhattan's Soho's Puck building on 271 Melbury Street. At about 1:30 a.m., Sam was completely drunk. Adam, his older brother, suggested he take a step outside to get some fresh air, which they did. Sam was stumbling all over the place, and especially when he was going down the stairs. And while going down the stairs, he told his brother he could go back upstairs, that he was fine to go outside alone, which Adam did. He went back upstairs watching his brother go outside. Sam stepped out of the building and vanished. Adam quickly became concerned when his brother didn't come back, and they went out to look for him, calling his name all night until the morning. They thought he had accidentally went into another party, as his coat was still inside the building, and inside his coat was his wallet that had all his money, but the search didn't come out good. Police were called in the morning and they had no trace of him. Sam's friends and family were very concerned, as he wasn't a person to just run away. He had just graduated from Vassar in 1981 and was an undergrad at Yale Divinity School with 1 term left. Soon after Sam went missing, his friends flocked to Manhattan in cars and chartered buses. Street by street, searches were conducted by Yale Divinity School students, faculty, and friends, and Todd's face and story became a prominent addition to the New York Police Department missing persons list. Adam searched shelters believing his brother would turn up there. He did that multiple times, and he continued doing it for a long time. The police dragged the rivers multiple times. The newspaper said that 14,000 missing person flyers had been gone around the city. Our hearts gave out long before our feet did, said Adam. Several possible sightings of Sam Todd was reported after his disappearance. Someone in fact believed he had been seen in a soup kitchen. Several others reported seeing him wandering the streets in a disoriented state. Another person reported seeing Todd washing car windows on the streets of Greenwich Village. Speculations quickly emerged that Todd had amnesia, yet nothing had turned up. Till this day, the case is still open and is consistently being revisited. Number 2. Ashila Jaquila Degree. Asher was born on August 5, 1990, to Harold and Aquila Degree. She had an older brother named O'Brien, and they lived in a residential subdivision in Shelby, North Carolina. Harold and Aquila both worked regular jobs, and Asher and her brother would let themselves in after school, where they would be doing their homework when their parents arrived. They were isolated from the outside world, and that's how their parents wanted it. Their whole world was revolved around church, family, and school. There was also no computers or TVs at home. Asher was in the 4th grade at nearby Falston Elementary School. Going into 3 days of President Holiday Weekend of 2000, the Cleveland County schools were closed on Friday, February 11. While the Degrees still had to work, the children spent the day at their aunt's house in the same neighborhood, from which they went to their youth basketball practices at their school. The rest of the weekend went as normal. On February 13 was the same as well. The family went to church, and Harold later went to work at his second job. Around 8 p.m. the power went out due to a car crash that had occurred, but it was fully restored by the time Harold got home at 12:30. He went to go check on his kids and they were still there. At 2:30, before he went to bed, he did another check and same thing, they were still there. Asha's brother told investigators he could hear Asha moving around, but didn't think much of it until he saw her grab a book bag that she had pre-packed with clothes and personal items, and then she went out the front door. Between 3:45 and 4:15 a.m., two drivers saw her walking south along Highway 18, wearing a long-sleeve white t-shirt and white pants, just north of its junction with Highway 180. They reported this to the police after seeing a TV report about her disappearance. One witness reported seeing her about 4 a.m. and said that he turned his car around because he thought it was strange such a small child would be out by herself at that hour. He circled 3 times and saw Degree run into the woods by the roadside and disappear. On February 14th, Akilah woke up at 5:45 a.m. to give the kids a bath as they didn't take one the night before due to the power outage. This is an important date, not just because it was Valentine's Day, but it was also the anniversary of their wedding. She opened the door to the room and found only O'Brien, not Asha. She didn't find her in the rest of the home. She told Harold and they called his mom that lived across the street. She wasn't there either. By 6:40 a.m. the police was involved. They brought out their canines, but the dogs were unable to get a scent. By 7 a.m., Akilah had woken up the whole neighborhood screaming out Asha's name. All neighbors, friends, and families had canceled their plans for the day to join the police in the search. On February 17, 2 days after the search began, candy wrappers were found inside a shed at a nearby business along the highway, near where Asha had been seen running into the woods. Along with them were a pencil, marker, and Mickey Mouse-shaped hair bows that were identified as belongings to her. It would be the only trace that would be found of her during the initial search. A week later, after 9,000 man-hours had been invested in a search of the 2 to 3 mile radius of where she had last been seen, flyers posted all over the areas and 300 leads ranging from possible sightings to tips about abandoned houses and wells where Asha might have ended up, the search was finally called off. "We have never really had that first good substantial lead," said County Sheriff Dan Crawford at a news conference. He urged the media to keep the story alive. The FBI was called in and the report said that she most likely ran away from something at home, like bad parenting or stress from an academic failure. Nothing was ever found again until August 2001, when construction workers found her book bag under dirt wrapped in plastic. In 2016, new information came in that she was spotted getting into a 1970 Ford Thunderbird that had rust around the wheels. As of now, the case is still open, and it is being handled by the Abduction Rapid Deployment Team of the FBI. What do you think happened to Asha? Did she really run away? Or did a close family friend set everything up? Or was she sleepwalking? Number 1. Johnny David Gosch. Johnny was born on November 12, 1969 in West Des Moines, Iowa. On Sunday, September 5, 1982, in the suburbs, Johnny did his usual paper route that is done before the break of dawn. He usually wakes up his father to help him out, but this time he only took out his Dachshund dog. Johnny was spotted by a neighbor named Mike talking to a stocky man in a blue two-tone Ford Fairmount with Nebraska plates. Mike didn't know what the conversation was about because he was just looking outside the window. Other paper carriers also spotted Johnny at the paper drop point picking up his papers. That would be the last time Johnny would be officially seen. John and Noreen Gosch, Johnny's parents, started receiving angry calls from neighbors saying they had not received their papers. Around 6 a.m., Johnny's dad canvassed the neighborhood for him and found his wagon full of newspapers 2 blocks from their home and immediately contacted West Des Moines police. The police concluded that Johnny was abducted but didn't find a motive in their investigation. A few months after his September 1982 disappearance, Noreen Gosch had said her son was spotted in Oklahoma when a boy yelled to a woman for help before being dragged off by 2 men. The case was taken on by many private investigators, but none of them came up with anything. This is where things start getting strange in the investigation. According to Noreen Gosch's account, she was awakened around 2:30 a.m. one morning on March 19, 1997, by a knock at her apartment door. Waiting outside was Johnny Gosch, now 27, accompanied by a man she had never seen before. Gosch said she immediately recognized her son, who opened his shirt to reveal a birthmark on his chest. We talked about an hour or an hour and a half. He was with another man, but I have no idea who the person was. Johnny would look over to the other person for approval to speak, says Gosh. He didn't say where he was living or where he was going. After the incident, the FBI made a sketch of how Noreen had described her son's appearance. On September 1st, 2006, Gosh reported that she found photographs left at her front door, some of which she posted on her website. One color photo shows 3 boys bound and gagged. She claims that a black and white photo appears to show 12-year-old Johnny Gosh with his mouth gagged, his hands and feet tied, and a apparent human brand on his shoulder. A third photo shows a man possibly dead, who may have something tied around his neck. Miss Gosh alleged the man was one of the perpetrators who molested her son. Gosh later said that the first 2 photos were found on child pornography websites. On September 13th, an anonymous letter was mailed to Des Moines police that read, and I quote, "Gentlemen, someone had played a joke on a grieving mother. The photo in questioning is not one of her son, but of 3 boys in Tampa, Florida, about 1979 to 1980, challenging each other to an escape contest. There was an investigation concerning that picture, made by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. No charges were filed and no wrongdoing was established. The lead detective on the case was named Salva. The allegation should be easy enough to check out. Nelson Zavala, who worked in the Hillsborough County, Florida office, did his investigation into these pictures, and it was confirmed everything that the letter had said. Till this day, Noreen still believes that's her son. What do you think happened to Johnny? Did he really come back and talk to Noreen? I believe she was just saying all those things to keep the investigation open and not have it go into a cold case. What are your thoughts? Thank you for joining me in this unsolved mystery. What was your favorite one? Subscribe and stay tuned for more unsolved, more serial killers, and more haunted locations around the world. As always, hope to see you guys for the next one, and this one is done.